So the first playoff game he ever had was 2012, January 7th. It was against the New Orleans Saints. They lost 45-28 at 23 years old. He was turning 24 the next day. He went 28 of 43, 65 completion percentage, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 97 quarterback rating, and he ran in a touchdown. So he had 4 total touchdowns, but people would look at the 2 interceptions and say, well, I mean, he's turning the ball over in the playoffs. I mean, come on now. That's not very good. Now, but let's look at this, okay? 1 second here. So So here's how this went. So Detroit and New Orleans started off, it was 7-7. And then, so Detroit started off 7-0. Will Heller caught a 10-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford. 7-0 Lions. Next, we had in the second quarter, keep in mind, second quarter, Lions up 7-0 going into the second quarter. Defense is playing well. So how did this happen? So Darren Sproles runs in a 2-yard rush there in the second quarter. Early on, you have New Orleans tying it up 7-7. Now, not long after, they have about a 5-minute drive here. Calvin Johnson catches a 13-yard touchdown pass from Matthew Stafford, 14-7 Detroit. John Casey for the Saints kicks a field goal. It's 14-10 heading into halftime. Then in the third quarter, Devery Henderson to start that since the Saints got the ball. Devery Henderson catches a 41-yard touchdown from Drew Brees. Clearly Matthew Stafford was on the coverage. So New Orleans is now up 17-14. And then Jimmy Graham at the 4-minute mark in the third quarter catches a 3-yard touchdown pass from Drew Brees, 24-14. Matthew Stafford gets a 1-yard rush at the end. So he actually had about a 3-minute drive, brought him all the way down, and punched it in for a score to go down 24-21 heading into the fourth. And then in the fourth, the Saints had a 17-yard run by Darren Sproles to make it 31-21. And then Robert Meacham caught a 56-yard touchdown pass that made it 38-21. Then Matthew Stafford had a 12-yard touchdown pass to Calvin Johnson, making it 38-28 with 4:40 left to go. And then 3:36, Pierre Thomas ran it in and basically ended the game. 45-28 was your score. So, looking at this, I mean, once again, the defense gave up 45 points. Stafford was 23 years old. His interception, Stafford's interception came at the 3:13 mark. So the 3:13 mark, this is after he scored a touchdown to make it 38-28. So clearly this is a play where he's trying to just make something happen, anything happen here. Gets picked off in the fourth quarter at the 3:13 mark. And then, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. It went to Nate Burleson, and apparently he tipped it up, and Jabari Greer caught it. So, I mean, he should have caught it. So it was a bobbled play that ended up going into an interception. And then, let me find the other interception here that Matthew Stafford had, since he had 2 of them. But let's forget the fact he had 4 touchdowns. Okay, so then the Lions, so then that was at the 9:53 mark in the fourth quarter. Matthew Stafford intended for Titus Young, intercepted by Jabari Greer. Oh, wow, Greer had 2 interceptions. So Stafford's first playoff game, he went up against the 13-3 New Orleans Saints on the road and put up a pretty good game. For 23 years old, throwing 380 yards, having 4 total touchdowns. He had an interception in crunch time where, they're down by 10. He's trying to make anything happen. There's not a ton of time. And then, he had an interception earlier, which probably was more so his fault. So essentially he had one interception and then one that was tipped. So not a bad performance. But let's look at the second playoff performance from Stafford. So we go here, Dallas, 24-20 is they lost. Yeah, Shane, he got hit on one of them, exactly. So they lost when he was 26 years old, 2015, January 4th, in Dallas. They lose 24-20. He had 28 completions to 42 attempts, so that's 66% completion percentage, 323 yards, a touchdown, interception, and 2 fumbles here, which he lost both of them. So not the best, obviously. They started off the game, 51-yard touchdown from Matthew Stafford to Golden Tate. Reggie Bush runs an 18-yard scamper into the end zone, so it's 14-0. And then the second quarter, towards the end, right before half, Tony Romo hits Terrence Williams, on a 76-yard touchdown pass. Anthony Hitchens had the no call. I vaguely remember that. So yeah, you have Terrence Williams, 76-yard touchdown from Tony Romo to end the half. Because Matt Prater kicked a field goal here, so it was 17-7 going into the second half. So what happens? Because they lose this game 24-20. So essentially, third quarter rolls along. Prater kicks another field goal, and at the 8:41 mark in the third quarter, the Lions are up 20-7, and it's looking really good for them to win, Matthew Stafford's first playoff win. Then they run into trouble. They get a long drive from the Cowboys, a little bit over 6 minutes. Not super long, but pretty long. DeMarco Murray runs it in for a score. It's 20-14. Dan Bailey kicks a 51-yard field goal at the 12:16 mark in the fourth quarter, making it 20-17. And with 2:32 left to go, Tony Romo hits Terrence Williams for an 8-yard touchdown. And that's how we have that. So it ends up being 24-20 Cowboys over the Lions in Matthew Stafford's second playoff game at 26. Once again, going up against the 12-4 Dallas Cowboys. He went up against the 13-3 Saints. Had an opportunity to win the Saints game. And the Cowboys, of course, he didn't do all. I mean, he was solid, obviously. I think 28 of 42 is pretty good. 323 passing yards, a touchdown. The interception hurts, and then, of course, 2 fumbles. Let's go back to this game here. Going through the play-by-play. And, okay. So, Stafford got the ball back. They were driving there at the Dallas 42. About a minute left to go in the game, and Stafford got sacked by DeMarcus Lawrence. Fumbled. Lawrence picked it up, and that won them the game. Riley Reef got blown up on that play. So that, that obviously you don't like to see that. On top of that, Matthew Stafford with 2:10 left to go. Looks like there was something here. Oh, wow, that's hilarious. Okay, I actually vaguely remember this. So in the fourth quarter, 2:10 left to go, Stafford gets sacked by Anthony Spencer. He fumbles. Anthony Spencer forces it. DeMarcus Lawrence picks it up. He runs. Garrett Reynolds, yes, the Garrett Reynolds that you guys know, he played for the Rams, forces a fumble on DeMarcus Lawrence, and then Riley Reif recovers. That gave Stafford another opportunity in which he hit Eric Ebron for 60 yards, Golden Tate for 7, incomplete deep to Calvin, had hit Theo Riddick for 15. Then there was a false start. Then he hit Eric Ebron for 8, Theo Riddick for 4. and then he got sacked by DeMarcus Lawrence and fumbled, and that was the end of the game. But yeah, I mean, part of this game was pretty good out of him. Obviously, the 2 fumbles near the end, not the greatest. Of course, the offensive line, it's great. It's easy to blame Matthew Stafford for holding on to the football, but the offensive line could have played a little bit better as well. But the defense isn't to blame because they only gave up 24 points in this one against a 12-4 team on the road. So to me, the Lions defense was not to blame for Matthew Stafford's second playoff loss. The first game, they gave up 45. The second, they gave up 24. But again, let's call it like it is. Matthew Stafford is going up against one of the top teams in the NFC. His first playoff game in 2011 against New Orleans, 13-3. And then in the second one, he goes up against Dallas, in New Orleans. Dallas is 12-4. Then the third one, and the last one that he was in 2016, he was 28 years old. And he plays against Seattle, and they lose 26-6. And it's just a rough game because you have the 205 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles lost. Just not a very good game all around. Obviously Stafford could have played a little bit better. But, here's where I look at it. Zach Zenner is your leading rusher with 11 carries for 34 yards. So they had no semblance of a running game. This is the game where Thomas Rawls went off. He had 27 carries for 161 yards and a touchdown. I think that's the big thing here, is that Matthew Stafford had no running game to speak of. And then you look at his receivers, it's Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, Anquan Bolden, Eric Ebron, TJ Jones, Matthew Mulligan. But only one guy carried the ball, and he carried it 11 times. On top of that, Matthew Stafford only threw the ball 32 times. So what happens? Well, when you look at that, you have to look at the team stats. And, right here, I think, it'll tell you, Seattle just had the ball a lot longer. They did a nice job. They dominated the time of possession. They had the ball 36 minutes in that game. And while Matthew Stafford didn't turn the ball over, he also didn't get a chance to really throw the football. He only threw it 32 times and had no running game. So I'm not trying to just make all these excuses, but again, now you're talking about, the Seattle Seahawks. You're playing at CenturyLink Field, the 12s. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, that's not a great environment, obviously. They ended up losing to the Atlanta Falcons, who then beat the Packers and went to the Super Bowl. And, of course, what happened there. But that Seahawks team, that was tough. That was not easy. And Zach Zenner being your number one running back, it's not ideal. And so, when people, this is why context matters, guys. And that's the reason I took you through that. And I'm going to go through all of your comments and we'll talk. But I wanted to go through that with you because context does matter. And to just say, well, Stafford's 0-3 in the playoffs and he can't beat a team. 2 of those teams were top NFC teams that they played on the road. All 3 of them are on the road. It's hard enough to win a playoff game at home, let alone on the road. On top of that, it's really hard when your defense gives up 45 freaking points in the first game. The third game, your running back is Zach Zenner, and he gets 11 carries. The other team holds on the ball for 36 minutes. So this is why the context needs to be out there. Is that when you look at it, you look at Stafford's career in the postseason, he's a 63% completion quarterback. He's got 908 yards passing, which is totally fine. It's probably about average to above average. And he has 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 2 of which came in the New Orleans game. One of those interceptions, he was hit while he was throwing. The other one went right off Nate Burleson's hands. He has an 87.8 passer rating, sacked 6 times. I mean, he's averaging 7.7 yards per attempt. He has a rushing touchdown. He fumbled twice, all of which came in the Cowboys game towards the end of the game, trying to make something happen. I mean, I don't I don't think he's like that bad in the postseason. You know, it's I don't get it. I mean, I think, obviously it's not the best, but it's not the worst. And I honestly think in that first game, he was really good against New Orleans, having 4 touchdowns, 380 yards. I mean, that's his first ever game. So I don't worry about this guy and the pressure. I don't worry about any of that. So that's why context matters at all times. And that's why I would say Matthew Stafford, like when people ask me, are you sure? Goff won in the playoffs, and now you have Stafford who's 0-3. Okay, and he can be 4-3 by the end of the year. Or 3, whatever it is. I mean, so let's put it this way. Like, I would rather have every running back on the Rams over Zach Zenner as my running back. No offense to Zach Zenner, but that was not his role. Like, come on now. Starting him. I mean, that's the thing. Thomas Rawls ran for over 100 yards. And you're going to blame Stafford for that? Whatever. His defense gave up 45 points. His first playoff game.